Okay, guys, should we get ready? Am I starting? Okay. Yo, bring it down. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give a talk that is not very usual for me because it has barely any code. And by barely, I mean no code. But it's something that I've learned over the last 3 years. Working at a company that has to deal with a lot of multi-things, like multi-time zone, multi-language, multi-everything. So we learn a lot of things in the process, and that's what I want to share with you. So far, this conference has been, I think, the best Cake Fest so far, including the one that I organized. So that's saying, I had a lot of fun. Yesterday dinner was great. We had a lot of interesting conversations. Apparently people figured out that I like football a lot. But if you're German, please stop talking about football. The World Cup was 2 months ago. It's already done. It's not even fun anymore. But if you are from the Netherlands, let's talk about the World Cup. I mean, it was just 2 months ago. So let's, and if you're Brazilian, oh well. Anyway, so yeah, this talk has no code. So because we could go on and on about how to integrate PayPal, Stripe, and different payment processors, but actually that's on the internet, so I'm not going to repeat that. What I'm going to tell you is probably stuff that you would not normally face when you're integrating payments. So if you're interested in knowing how to integrate payment processors, all I can tell you is just go look for OmniPay, which is like a multi-gateway library that you just install from Composer, and then you can enable the different payment providers. It's very easy to integrate, so there's not much to it. It works cleanly across the different gateways, so you don't have to deal with the particulars of each processor. Anyway, so payment processing is probably not something that you have to do on every company that you work for or in every project that you work for, which is weird because getting paid is the most important thing, or it should be. The strange thing is that a lot of companies don't seem to grasp that fact because they don't make the conscious decision of saying, okay, we should be focusing on improving the payment experience for users and enabling them to pay me in an easier way, because they make it really hard. And when I say really hard, this is no joke. It's a form that I had to fill at one point to pay. Well, the blood type is probably over the top, but the rest is. I've dealt with, when you're in Latin America, paying is a pain in the ass. It's like a very difficult process to go through. I have bank accounts in different countries, so when I use my credit card from the US in Argentina, like 90% of the sites immediately assume that I'm doing fraud, so they reject my payment and they say, okay, we don't want your business, which is insane. The thing is that when you talk to developers about payment processing, they talk about the APIs. Oh yeah, we use Stripe. This is great. It's very easy it's very, very developer friendly. Okay, but what about the user? Again, if you come from Latin America, there's a problem called the dollar, which is not our currency. I've been asked, okay, do you have dollars in Argentina? No, we don't. So when you are from a different country, when you pay something in dollars, you're actually buying currency. And if you're from Venezuela, Argentina, all these very developed countries, buying currency is at discretion of the government. So you may get rejected, and at the moment where you're trying to pay FreshBooks, for example, that takes only dollars, they may reject your payment. So yes, Stripe is great, has a nice API, but think about outside the box. Because you may think, okay, so what? I'm just concentrating on the American market. I'm concentrating on the European market. All I need is euros and dollars. But okay, there are a lot of countries that are a little bit big, regardless of the business that you're in. So saying no to, I don't know, $12 billion is kind of stupid. And these companies say no because they don't give you enough options. Brazil is our biggest market, so we learned a lot during the last 3 years about how payments work there. And we realized that credit card, while it's very popular, is not the only means of payment for Brazilians. They use a lot of different alternatives, including cash. Yes, people still use cash, particularly in Latin America. And when I say cash, I'm talking about a lot of cash. So they could pay $14,000 in cash, just because, it makes sense for some reason. A lot of companies also don't know how to deal with payment failure. And when I say payment failure, I mean, okay, you try to process a credit card through a payment gateway, the gateway denies the payment, and then immediately you assume, okay, I cannot process that payment. A little bit further away, I'm gonna talk what we do, but we realize that depending on the payment gateway that you use, you may get better chances to process a particular brand of credit card. So it may be rejected in PayPal, but it may be accepted in Stripe. So assuming that the first try that you're trying to process a payment ends in failure should be just aborting payment is a mistake. You should know how to deal with failure. A lot of companies assume that you're up to no good. Again, my experience with Argentinian sites is kind of insane, but it is what it is. So this definitely has to stop. We have to start realizing that if there are people willing to pay you money at any time, you should enable them, you should help them, you shouldn't make their life impossible. In Argentina, we have an expression, which is, it's hard to translate. It would be, there's a phone. It's my government, you see. In Argentina, we have an expression which is called, someone wanna get that? It might be important. Maybe it has to do with the food, so definitely pick it up. Yeah, okay. So we have an expression that is hard to translate, but I'm going to make my best try, which is, you have a crocodile in your pocket. So when we say someone, literally an alligator or crocodile, whatever you want to call in your pocket, when you approach your users, that's what you should be thinking. So people are insane and crazy, and they're giving you money. They haven't met you. They're like 1,000 kilometers away from you. They barely know your site, and they're still putting money. So just approach it that way. One of the things we realized that, well, actually, it's not something that we realize. Payment processing is so hard in Latin America, and the rest of the world for that matter, that the biggest marketplace in Latin America had to build its own payment processor, because nothing else worked. So they had to build actually a whole new company to deal with payment. So I thought, okay, when we started working on it, I thought, we're not going to need that because they did it already, so we can use them. No, it didn't work. We actually had to build our own payment API. And that's probably, if you care about your users, something that you have to do yourself. And when I'm talking about a payment API, I'm not saying, like a full-bloated, a lot of things. I'm saying, conceptually, logically, understanding the different parts that are involved in payment processing. This, incredibly enough, is something that most people don't even realize that they have to deal with, frauds. So yeah, a payment API would probably consist of your payment service, which is your integration with the different gateways. That's the boring part, the code part. Dealing with frauds, building a whole solution in your site to deal with frauds, and then having the typical reporting tools to analyze the result of payments, your administration backend to deal with payments, and then the front-end experience for the user. When I said payment API, it means there's no solution that would pretty much cover all the scenarios of payments that you want to accept. The more gateways you have, the better chances you get more money into your site. So payment localization, yes, we're all different. So credit cards work great in the United States. They don't work that great in Latin America. Then in Africa, you may have different types of payments. So you never know what you have to integrate. I was, I think last year in Africa, and I've seen in different parts this logo of a company that was called M-Pesa. I don't know if anyone heard of it. This is insane. These guys invented electronic currency way before Bitcoin, because what they do is they allow people to send each other money through text messages. So if you want to send someone $100, you just text them $100, and the guy shows up to the nearest location, and then they give you the money. So, maybe that's what works in Africa. There are a lot of options to deal with payments. Some of these are concentrated in Latin America. This is a new player. It's primarily right now, Amazon concentrated on processing credit cards. I don't know how you mention it, when, swiping the credit card, giving you a device for you to process the credit card. But they are going to move into offline credit card processing, so it's a new player on the market. You have Stripe, which is the preferred for developers, and then you have a lot of other things. PayPal, which is always a pain in the ass, but you can get away. If you're lucky to process several $1 million, then you can go to more wider and established solutions like Global Collect and others, but they require for you to process a lot of money per month. These are all, actually not all of them, but most of them are payment processors that deal with credit cards. But then there are others that deal with a lot of different options. And when I say options, I mean virtual payments. This could be Bitcoin. This could be whatever other means of virtual payment you prefer. You have to deal with bank transfers, and you have to deal with offline payments, again, cash. And it is very important for you to analyze or to give the options in a way for you to understand what works best for your customers in your different locations. And yes, not only in each country it will work, things may work differently than you expect. A certain payment method will work better, but even within a country, it will be different. This is one of the, actually, we moved this page so much based on A/B testing that is already obsolete, but depending on the country that you're in, we give you different options, and we move the order, we change everything. You start analyzing, it changes everything. That's why it's very important for you to measure everything that you do with payments. That means not only the money that comes in, but how many people try a certain payment method and it doesn't go through, or if they try more than one, and so on and so forth. When you deal with credit cards, this is a big question. Do I store the credit cards? Obviously, when you do, you have certain regulations that you have to comply, because otherwise, you're breaking the law, and that's not fun. But yes, you should definitely do. Remember that I said that when you go through a particular payment processor, it may reject the payment, and you shouldn't stop there. You should keep trying. We have a set of, depending on the credit card, where the credit card comes from, the country that comes from, we have a set of different processors that when a certain processor rejects the payment, we keep trying with others. And doing that conversion increases a lot, because you realize that, not every processor likes all credit cards. But what happens if the payment keeps failing? Don't abort. Don't say to the customer, okay, bye-bye, I'm sorry, but we can't take your money. Call, which is insane, I know. Talking to a customer on the phone is very scary, and you may find experiences that are actually quite entertaining, but scary at the same time. One of our first calls that had to deal with payments when we were investigating frauds at the very beginning, we saw this person from Dominican Republic making a lot of payments inside to other. We have a marketplace, which means you hire people through our site, which means we do both ends. We take your money and then we give it away to someone else. So we're like, the perfect fit for fraudsters, because they can get money out of stolen credit cards. So we saw this guy from Dominican Republic spending a lot of money on a Sunday and giving money away to these new accounts that were created the same Sunday. So obviously, it's more fishy. We called him. Everything seemed okay. The guy took his, we asked him to take his photo with the credit card and an ID, to say, okay, he owns the credit card and he's the person that he says. He did that. But then we decided to Google his name, and we found that he was recently on a newspaper, just, being detained for credit card fraudsters. So yeah, you may find experiences with your customers that are not fun, but when you do call your customers, conversions increases a lot. So the payment that didn't go through will probably succeed in other means. And when I mean other means, I mean take the money however you can. So if you talk to a customer and they don't have a credit card, they don't have other means, just, I don't know, go pick it up, do whatever you have to do. Again, money for a company is everything. Fraud, yeah, it's very scary. And again, most companies don't think that they have to deal with fraud or don't think that it would impact them. The truth is, if it didn't, it means you're not successful. Companies that are successful get a lot of fraud attempts, and they become even more successful when they know how to manage that. There are a lot of different providers to help you with that. I named just a few. These providers are all the same in the sense that you send them information about the payments, such as the IP where the user comes from, the last digits of the credit card, and other information, and they will give you a number between 1 and 100, saying the percentage of likeliness for that transaction to be a fraud. It will never be 100, and it will never be 0, because there's always a chance. By the way, when we integrated MaxMind, the first transaction that we ran was for that Dominican guy. And in MaxMind, the documentation says that 99% of the transactions end up between 0 and 3%. And that guy was reaching 99.98, which was insane in MaxMind. So if we, and that was after, that guy was before we integrated these tools. So if we had that tool, we would never would have gone through the process of, getting scared by that guy. Inside fraud, this greatly depends on your type of site. For us, since we are a marketplace, we have a lot of rules that would make sense to analyze when people are making payments. Like if a user is making a payment to another user and they both come from the same computer, yeah, chances are that's not good. Payments without interaction for us also are weird. People sending money to other people without a project, without hiring them, without talking to them, also a bad sign. So it greatly depends on your side. But the thing is that you have to sit down and analyze that data. So when you're processing the payment, yeah, that's fine. You can integrate MaxMind, but don't stop there. Integrate with your custom logic. And the most important thing is store data. Start analyzing that data and start changing your rules based on that. Try for this path to never be the case. So again, try to avoid aborting a payment just because it went red flag on any of these cases. My credit card in Argentina, MaxMind, throws 3%. Now I understand why I get rejected, because for MaxMind, it's weird for an Argentinian to pay with a US credit card, even though like all our country has the funds on the US, so I don't get it. So yeah, start building this tool. This is so important that you will probably, again, if you get successful, luckily, you have a team dedicated to this process. And it would never be 100% finished or closed or done. So you have to learn a lot. So yeah, I think that's it. I do want to make a couple of announcements. Tuesday, I told you already, but if you want to play football, please hit me and we can go play football. On November 7-9, I know it's very far away. Argentina is very far away. I know, I live there, so. But there's a conference that I co-organize that is great. Everyone that's been there tells me it's the greatest. Mark can tell you that. He was there last year. We have some interesting folks coming in. Phil, your photo, I don't know if Phil is here. I think he's still sleeping it off. Phil is coming as well. But we got Fabian, we got Michelle Hashimoto from Vagrant. We got Brad Fitzpatrick, he's from, oh, there you are, Phil. Okay, it's not that I don't love you, it's just I didn't have space, you see. Just stand here. It's better, real life. Brad Fitzpatrick is Go, Memcache, Gearman, and other tools, and Michael, he's the creator of MySQL and MariaDB. So I invite you to come down, and there's a third day which is going to be awesome, spending at a ranch, just drinking and eating food, which is that never happens in conferences. So I don't know if you have any questions. Okay, so everyone is, yeah, Mark.
You are storing the credit cards. How did you deal with the PCI DSS rules? Like, did you do a self-evaluation?
No, we have, fortunately, one of our co-founders, he developed the whole banking system, electronic banking system in Argentina, so he knew everything. Yeah. But there's if you I can't remember the name now, but I think it's Cloud HSM. There's a tool in AWS that will help you, because you're not supposed to have the credit card information in the same data store as your application. You have to have a lot of encryption rules and whatever. So I think it's Cloud HSM from Amazon will help you get there. But yeah, then you have to go through the process of being certified. That you can, depending on the country where you're from, you can do it through different providers. So yeah. You don't store it in FreshBooks? Ah, okay.
Yeah, we're going under like PCI DSS for service.
It's not fun. Yeah. Thankfully, I didn't have to do it, so. Okay, thank you guys.